He turned on me over a laptop, and I finally snapped. I never thought a simple laptop purchase would unravel the threads of my relationship so dramatically. I had always considered myself the peacekeeper, the one who made sure everyone was happy and that things ran smoothly. But sometimes even the best intentions unravel. Here's how it all went down. It was early May of 2025, a time when the world was just beginning to settle into a new normal. I was 21, engaged to my fiancé, Alex, who was 25. We had been together for 3 solid years, a time filled with love and shared dreams of a future together. His family had become my own, and I felt like I had carved out a special place in their lives. They relied on me for many things: taxes, car insurance, school assignments, you name it. I was their go-to person. This was a role I cherished. I enjoyed the feeling of being needed, of being able to help. Alex's mother, father, and especially his sister Lisa were like a second family to me. I had always gone out of my way to say yes to them, even when it meant sacrificing my own time and energy. This was more than just a duty. It was an expression of my genuine affection for them. As the days grew longer and warmer, Alex and I were preparing for a major move across state lines for new job opportunities. It was an exciting yet daunting prospect, and I hoped the transition would be smooth. Around this time, Lisa introduced us to her new boyfriend, Mark. He was 40, a significant age difference from Lisa's 26 years, but I tried not to let it bother me. My own parents had a similar age gap, and I'd witnessed firsthand how it could complicate things. Still, I kept my concerns to myself and welcomed him into the fold with open arms. Mark seemed charming at first, with a good sense of humor that made him easy to like. For the first few months, everything was cordial, but then the laptop incident happened, and everything changed. It all started innocently enough. Alex's mother had asked me to help her find a new laptop. She needed something simple for browsing, taking notes, and doing some light schoolwork. After an hour-long FaceTime call filled with laughter and deliberation, we settled on a 2025 MacBook Air, M4. It was perfect for her needs, and by opting for standard storage and RAM, we saved her almost $500. Plus, I was already sharing my 2 TB of iCloud storage with her, which she greatly appreciated. I placed the order, feeling satisfied and relieved. But just a few days later, as Alex chatted with his mom on the phone, she asked to speak with me. Her voice was hesitant, a slight tremor that made me brace myself for what was coming. "Hey, I just wanted to let you know that Mark said the laptop you picked was a 2024 model," she said, her voice tinged with uncertainty. Confusion washed over me. I had the order confirmation with the model number to prove that wasn't the case. Mark had taken it upon himself to cancel the order and take her to buy a different one. The kicker? The new laptop was essentially the same model, just with more RAM and storage, and it cost her an additional $500, a sum she could ill afford to waste. As I hung up the phone, I felt a wave of frustration creeping in. This wasn't just about the money, it was about the wasted effort and the unnecessary complication. I had spent time going over options with her, ensuring she got exactly what she needed. I thought it was a simple misunderstanding, one that could be easily resolved with a bit of communication. So I decided to reach out to Mark directly. I crafted a text message that was polite yet clear, explaining that the laptop we initially chose was the same as the one he bought, and asking him to consult with me in the future before making such decisions. I sent the message, hoping it would clear the air. His reply was swift and cutting. "Let's get one thing clear. I don't need to justify my actions to you. If you have a problem with the decision, take it up with Alex's mom." I stared at the message, my mind reeling. The words were like a slap in the face, unexpected and stinging. I had approached him with respect, and his response was dismissive and condescending. It felt like a betrayal, not just of me, but of the trust we had built as a family. I took a deep breath, trying to quell the anger bubbling inside me. I responded, striving to maintain a respectful tone. I clarified that I wasn't asking him to justify anything, merely trying to prevent future misunderstandings. But my message was left on delivered. He didn't bother to reply. Days turned into weeks, and the tension simmered beneath the surface. I tried to focus on the impending move, but the incident lingered in my mind, a constant reminder of the fracture in our family dynamic. I wondered if I had overstepped, if I had expected too much from someone who was, after all, new to our family. Yet, the more I thought about it, the more I realized it wasn't just about the laptop. It was about respect and communication, about being part of a family where everyone worked together and valued each other's contributions. Mark's dismissive attitude had thrown all of that into question. As the weeks passed, I noticed a change in the atmosphere during family gatherings. There was a tension, a subtle undercurrent that hadn't been there before. Conversations that were once easy and light now felt strained and awkward. I could see it in the way Alex's mom hesitated before asking for my help, her eyes darting to Mark as if seeking his approval. It hurt more than I cared to admit. I had always felt like a valued member of the family, someone they could rely on. Now, I was questioning my place, wondering if I was being too sensitive or if my concerns were valid. The final straw came during a family dinner. We were gathered around the table, the aroma of roasted chicken and potatoes filling the air. The conversation was stilted, each of us trying to pretend everything was normal. But it wasn't. At one point, Lisa turned to Mark and asked about a new phone she was considering. He launched into a detailed explanation of the specs, his voice authoritative and dismissive of any input from the rest of us. It was as if he was the only one with any knowledge or expertise, and the rest of us were just there to listen. I couldn't take it anymore. The frustration and resentment that had been simmering for weeks finally boiled over. I looked at him, my voice steady but firm. Mark, I think it's important that we all have a say in these decisions. We're a family, and communication is key to making sure everyone's on the same page. He looked at me, his expression a mix of surprise and annoyance. I don't need to justify my actions to you, he reiterated, his tone dismissive. That was it, I snapped. All the pent-up emotions, all the resentment and hurt came spilling out. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor as I pushed it back. This isn't just about a laptop or a phone, Mark. It's about respect, about being part of a family where everyone's opinions matter. I've always tried to help and support this family, and I expect the same respect in return. The room fell silent, everyone staring at me in shock. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, the adrenaline coursing through my veins. But I didn't care. I had finally spoken my truth, and it felt liberating. Mark looked at me, his expression unreadable. For a moment, I thought he might apologize, acknowledge the misunderstanding, and move forward. But he simply shrugged, dismissing my words with a casual indifference that cut deeper than any argument. I sat back down, the weight of the confrontation settling over me like a heavy cloak. The rest of the dinner passed in uncomfortable silence, each of us lost in our own thoughts. As we drove home later that night, Alex reached over and took my hand, his touch warm and reassuring. "I'm proud of you," he said softly. "You stood up for yourself, and that's important." I nodded, grateful for his support but still feeling the sting of Mark's dismissal. It was a turning point, a moment that forced me to reevaluate my role in the family and the dynamics that had shifted so suddenly. In the days that followed, I found myself reflecting on what had happened. I realized that standing up for myself was necessary, even if it meant facing uncomfortable truths and challenging dynamics. It was a reminder that respect and communication are the cornerstones of any relationship, and that sometimes you have to fight for what you believe in. I wish I could say that everything resolved itself neatly after that night, but life is rarely so simple. The tension lingered, and while things eventually settled into a new normal, the scars from that confrontation remained. As I look back on it now, I wonder if there was something I could have done differently. Could I have approached the situation with more patience, more understanding, or was this a necessary step in asserting my place and ensuring that my contributions were valued? The answers aren't clear, but I've come to realize that sometimes standing up for yourself is the only way to ensure your voice is heard. And so I ask myself, in the pursuit of harmony, how much are we willing to compromise our own sense of self-worth? The question lingered in my mind, haunting me during quiet moments and slipping into my thoughts uninvited. With each family gathering that followed, I felt a strange mix of discomfort and resolve. I couldn't help but notice the subtle shifts, how conversations seemed to carry an undercurrent of caution, how eyes flicked to Mark whenever a decision was being discussed, as if silently waiting for his approval. I began to question the dynamics that had been so easy before. My mind replayed moments from the past, searching for signs I might have overlooked. Had I been too accommodating, too eager to please, to the point of losing my own voice in the process? It was a lot to unpack, and there were no easy answers. Meanwhile, Mark seemed unfazed by the tension. He carried on with his usual bravado, seemingly oblivious to the discomfort he stirred. I watched him sometimes, trying to understand the motivations behind his actions. Did he truly believe he was right, or was there something deeper at play? I couldn't tell, and perhaps that was the most frustrating part. Despite the unease, I tried to focus on the positive aspects of my relationship with Alex and his family. His mom still called me occasionally, though there was a newfound hesitancy in her voice. I made it a point to reassure her, to let her know that I was always there to help, no matter what. Her gratitude was palpable, and I hoped that with time, things would smooth over. One weekend, as Alex and I were packing up boxes for our move, he paused and looked at me thoughtfully. "Do you think things will ever go back to how they were?" he asked, his voice tinged with concern. I shrugged, unsure of how to answer. "I hope so," I replied, stacking another box. "But maybe they don't need to go back to exactly how they were. Maybe this is just a part of growing pains." He nodded, considering my words. "I just want you to feel comfortable, you know. I hate seeing you so stressed about this." I appreciated his concern, but I knew that this was something I had to navigate on my own terms. "I'll be okay," I said, giving him a reassuring smile. "I'm just trying to figure out where I fit in all of this." The move loomed closer, and with it came the promise of a fresh start. Part of me was relieved to be putting some distance between us and the tension that had woven itself into the fabric of our family interactions. Yet another part of me was anxious about leaving things unresolved, about the possibility that time and distance might not heal the rift. As we settled into our new home, I found solace in the routines of daily life. Unpacking boxes, arranging furniture, and discovering the rhythm of a new place brought a sense of normalcy that I desperately needed. Alex and I fell into a comfortable cadence, our shared experiences and mutual support offering a refuge from the uncertainty that had become so familiar. Still, the unresolved tension lingered at the edges of my consciousness, a reminder that life was rarely as straightforward as we might hope. I knew that eventually I would have to face the reality of our altered family dynamics, to confront the lingering questions and the unresolved feelings. For now, though, I focused on building a life that was both fulfilling and true to who I was. I learned to cherish the moments of peace and to let go of the things I couldn't control. It was a lesson that had been hard-earned, but one that I knew would serve me well in the future. The days turned into weeks, and as we gradually settled into our new surroundings, I found myself reflecting on the journey that had brought us here. I realized that life was a series of choices, and that each decision carried with it the potential for growth and change. In standing up for myself, I had taken a step toward defining my own path, toward ensuring that my voice was heard and respected. And while the road ahead was still uncertain, I knew that I was moving forward with a newfound sense of clarity and strength. It was a journey that was far from over, but one that I was determined to navigate with grace and resilience. As the weeks turned into months, the shadows of the past seemed to lighten, though they never fully disappeared. Living in a new city brought with it a refreshing anonymity, a chance to redefine myself outside the confines of familial expectations and unresolved conflicts. Yet every time I caught a glimpse of my reflection, I was reminded of the person I had been trying to become, a person who stands firm in her convictions, yet still yearns for peace and understanding. With each day, I tried to balance these two sides of myself. On one hand, I was the peacemaker, someone who wanted to mend fences and ensure that love and harmony prevailed. On the other, I was learning to be the warrior who fought for her own place in a world that often tried to overshadow her. Alex, bless him, was my constant anchor through all of this. His unwavering support reminded me of why I fell in love with him in the first place. He had this incredible ability to sense when I was lost in my thoughts, when the weight of unresolved issues seemed to threaten my newfound peace. During those times, he would simply pull me into his arms, murmuring words that felt like a balm to my weary soul. "You're strong?" He'd whisper, his breath warm against my ear. "You can handle anything?" And I'd believe him, if only for a moment. But the truth was, the situation with Mark lingered like a stubborn stain that refused to fade. Family gatherings, though less frequent due to the distance, were still marred by a tension that was palpable, even from miles away. Conversations were careful, topics chosen with precision to avoid stirring the pot. One evening, as Alex and I were preparing dinner together, our favorite way to unwind after a long day, I broached the subject that had been gnawing at me. "Do you think I should reach out to Mark again?" I asked, slicing through a bell pepper with perhaps more force than necessary. Alex paused, setting down his knife to look at me. "Do you want to?" I sighed, setting the pepper down. "I don't know. Part of me feels like I should. Like maybe if I try again, we can clear the air and move past this." He nodded, taking my hand in his. "Then maybe you should. But only if it's for you, not because you feel like you have to." His words resonated with me. It was easy to forget that I had a choice in this, that my actions needed to align with my own sense of self, rather than external pressures. The next day, I found myself drafting a message to Mark. I wanted to keep it simple, to reach out without placing blame or reigniting old tensions. After several drafts, I finally settled on something that felt right. "Hey Mark," I typed, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. "I know things have been awkward between us, and I just wanted to say that I'm open to talking if you are. I think it would be good for both of us to clear the air. Let me know what you think." I hit send before I could second-guess myself, feeling a strange mix of relief and anxiety settle in my chest. Now, all I could do was wait. Days passed with no response, and though I tried not to let it bother me, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of disappointment. Had he read it and chosen to ignore it? Or was he just as uncertain as I was, unsure of how to proceed? In the absence of answers, I focused on the life Alex and I were building together. We explored our new city, finding little cafes and parks that became our new haunts. We embraced the novelty of our surroundings, allowing the change of scenery to breathe fresh air into our routine. But in quiet moments, when the world around us seemed to slow, I found myself returning to the lingering question of family and forgiveness. Could we ever truly heal from the rift that had formed? And if so, what would it take? The answers, as always, were elusive. But as I stood on the precipice of this new chapter, I knew that I had the strength to face whatever lay ahead. And perhaps in time, Mark and I could find our way back to a place of mutual respect and understanding. Until then, I would continue to forge my own path, one step at a time. As the days turned into weeks, the echo of my unanswered message to Mark lingered in the back of my mind, a quiet reminder of unresolved issues that seemed to shadow my otherwise bright new life. I tried to push it aside, to focus on the joy of discovery and the comfort of routine that Alex and I were building together. Yet, every now and then, my thoughts would drift back to that tension, like an itch that couldn't quite be scratched. One particularly cool afternoon, the crisp autumn air filled with the scent of fallen leaves, Alex and I decided to take a walk through the nearby park. The trees were a blaze of orange and red, their leaves crunching under our feet as we strolled along the winding paths. It was one of those perfect days, the kind that seemed to wrap around you like a warm embrace, promising that everything would be okay. But even amidst the beauty around me, I felt a tug at my heart, a reminder that not everything was as it should be. Alex must have sensed it too, because he gently squeezed my hand, his silent support speaking volumes more than words ever could. "You're thinking about Mark again, aren't you?" he asked softly, his voice cutting through the gentle rustling of the leaves. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak just yet. Instead, I focused on the path ahead, trying to ground myself in the moment. It was hard to admit, even to myself, just how much the situation was affecting me. I prided myself on being strong, on not letting things get under my skin, and yet here I was, unable to shake the feeling of unease. "I just wish I knew what to do," I finally said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I hate that things are like this. I hate feeling like I'm caught between wanting to mend things and wanting to just move on." Alex stopped walking, turning to face me. His eyes, so full of understanding, met mine, and for a moment the world around us seemed to fade away. "You don't have to have all the answers right now," he reminded me. "Sometimes the best thing you can do is give it time. Maybe Mark just needs time too." I nodded, grateful for his perspective. It was easy to forget in the midst of my own emotions that Mark was a person too, someone who might be dealing with his own struggles and uncertainties. Maybe, just maybe, he needed space to process things in his own way. As we continued our walk, I tried to take Alex's words to heart, to let go of the need for immediate resolution. It wasn't easy, and I knew it would be something I'd have to remind myself of time and time again. But I also knew that I wasn't alone in this, that I had Alex by my side, rooting for me every step of the way. A few more weeks passed, and just as I was beginning to truly settle into this mindset, a message notification lit up my phone screen one evening. It was from Mark. "Hey." It started simply, "Sorry for the delay. I've been thinking about your message, and I agree that it might be good to talk. Let me know when you're free." My heart skipped a beat, a mix of relief and apprehension flooding through me. This was what I'd wanted, wasn't it? A chance to clear the air, to find some kind of resolution. Yet now that the opportunity was here, I found myself hesitating, unsure of what to say or how to feel. Alex, noticing my sudden stillness, looked over and read the message. "You okay?" he asked, his brow furrowing with concern. "I think so," I replied, though my voice betrayed the uncertainty I felt. I guess I wasn't really expecting him to respond. "Well, take your time," Alex advised. "There's no rush. Just do what feels right for you." As I sat there, phone in hand, I realized that this was yet another choice I had to make. A choice that could potentially change the dynamics of our family and my own sense of peace. It was daunting, but also empowering. I could choose to confront this, to face whatever came next with the same resilience that had carried me through so much already. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of deliberation, I typed out my response. "Hi, Mark. Thanks for getting back to me. I think it would be good to talk too. How about a call sometime next week?" With a deep breath, I hit send, feeling a sense of calm wash over me. Whatever happened next, I knew I was ready to face it. And with that decision made, I allowed myself to sink back into the comfort of the present moment, letting the future unfold as it would. The days leading up to my call with Mark were filled with a mix of anxiety and anticipation. I found myself replaying our last interaction over and over in my head, dissecting every word, every nuance, hoping to piece together some understanding of how things had spiraled so quickly. I knew I needed to approach this conversation with an open mind and heart, but the sting of his dismissal still lingered. The night before our call, I laid in bed staring at the ceiling, the darkness of the room mirroring the uncertainty I felt. My mind was a cacophony of what-ifs. What if the conversation didn't go as planned? What if the rift between us widened? But woven through those fears was a thread of hope. Because maybe, just maybe, this talk could be the beginning of healing. When the time finally came, I felt a knot tighten in my stomach as I dialed his number. The ringing seemed to stretch on forever, each second amplifying my nerves, until finally I heard his voice. "Hello?" he said, his tone cautious but not unfriendly. "Hi, Mark," I replied, trying to infuse my voice with calm despite the butterflies in my stomach. "Thanks for agreeing to chat." "Of course," he said, and I detected a hint of relief in his voice. "I think we do need to clear the air." We started off slowly, both of us treading carefully, like two people tiptoeing across a thin sheet of ice. Mark explained his side of things, his concerns over the laptop decision coming from a place of wanting to do right by my mother-in-law, not realizing that I had already spent time and effort making sure she got exactly what she needed. It was a misunderstanding, a misstep, and as he spoke, I realized he hadn't intended to undermine me. He just didn't know the full story. "I guess I just got defensive," he admitted, his voice tinged with regret. "I didn't mean to come off as dismissive. I think I just felt caught off guard and I reacted poorly." His honesty was disarming. It took the edge off my own defenses, and I found myself opening up in return. "I understand," I said, my voice softening. "I think I got caught up in feeling like I needed to defend the work I put in, and maybe I pushed too hard. I really wanted to avoid this kind of tension." There was a pause, a moment where the air seemed to clear between us. It felt as though we were both standing at the same starting line, ready to move forward. "I'm sorry for how I reacted," Mark said finally. "I should have handled it better." "I appreciate that," I replied, a sense of relief washing over me. "And I'm sorry, too, for not considering that you were just trying to help." Our conversation continued, slipping into a more natural rhythm as we talked not just about the laptop, but about other things too. Shared interests, family anecdotes, even a few laughs. It was as if we were both rediscovering the good-humored connection we once had, and it felt like a weight lifting off my shoulders. As we wrapped up the call, Mark offered a tentative olive branch. "Let's keep the lines of communication open from now on. I think we both want what's best for the family." "I'd like that," I said, meaning it. When the call ended, I sat in the quiet of my living room, feeling a profound sense of peace. It wasn't perfect, and maybe it never would be, but it was a start. And that was enough for now. In the end, this whole ordeal taught me something invaluable about relationships, about family. It's easy to let misunderstandings fester, to let pride and hurt build walls where there should be bridges. But sometimes all it takes is one honest conversation to start mending those fractures, to remind us of the connections that really matter. As I reflected on everything, a question lingered in my mind, one that challenged me to look beyond myself and consider the broader picture. Is it worth holding on to pride when it costs us family harmony?